The millennial culture was like a little bit superficial. Like we were like, we created selfies for God's sake. What's Maha doing today? Where is Maha today?
I know.
I don't really know what we were doing in that space.
Well, he's not a professional artist, but doodles are art.
Exactly. Hi guys, it's Lisa here, and I am honestly so freaking excited to be joined by Maha, and I'm going to try and pronounce your name correctly, Abouelenein. Is that correct?
That's actually pretty good.
Excellent. But thank you so much, Maha, for joining me today. I'm not even going to try and introduce you because you have an extensive CV and I don't think I'll do it justice. So I'm going to throw it over to you firstly to introduce yourself. If you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
Thank you, Lisa, for having me. So my name is Maha Abouelenein. I am a communications executive. I call myself a professional storyteller. So I work and consult with several different high net worth individuals and clients to help them work on their personal brand, tell their stories, help them with positioning. I do work for Gary Vee for the last 5 years, handling all of his kind of communications for his personal brand. And I do work for Patrick Mouratoglou, who some of you who are tennis fans, especially if he was getting ready for the Australian Open, he coaches Serena Williams, Coco Gauff, Stefano Tsitsipas, which is one of my favorite players. And I used to work at Google. I'm an ex-Googler for the last 4 years. Before that, after Google, actually, I worked at Netflix, with Netflix for the last 5 years, helping them with their communications in the Middle East. So anyways, I help people tell their stories. I do communications, and I love it because you get to see different things and work on different communications challenges, launches, crises, personal brands. And so it makes my job super fun and rewarding.
I honestly I love how you're casually like, yeah, also Google, Netflix. Oh, and I think you mentioned as well the Prime Minister of Dubai as well, just casually, all these amazing people. But can I say, we first met at the end of 2019 before the pandemic. God, I think I've probably aged about 50 years since then. So hopefully you still recognize me. But we were lucky enough to meet when Gary came out to Australia. And you helped us get an interview with him, and he was incredible. But one thing I really noticed about you that I loved is that you're just so quick on communications, even though I know you are crazy busy, and you're just such a warm, generous person, right, from the minute that we started talking. So, I really appreciate you making the time to have a chat today, because I follow you on socials and I'm like, what's Maha doing today? Where is Maha today?
I think one of the things that I just been so impressed about is obviously watching everybody pivot during the pandemic, but just all the new industries and stories that have been told during the pandemic. So gaming exploded during COVID. NFTs, which I know we're going to talk a lot about, exploded during COVID and beyond. And I think it's fun to be at this, like the front seat of all the stuff that's happening. Obviously, Gary is like the epicenter of NFTs and Web3. And so for me, it's a huge honor that I get to be in the mix, learning alongside him, but just understanding that everything's changing. We need to be ready for it. And I can't wait for next year.
Oh, honestly, I actually can't even believe how quickly NFTs have really taken off. And I sort of feel like I look at, and we can touch on gaming, I think, as well, because I look at gaming and go, they were really doing things like the metaverse long before even like the, everyday person even knew what the metaverse was. So I look at Roblox, I look at, Fortnite, like they've been doing a lot of this space, or, a lot of activity in this space already. And I think NFTs have really helped sort of push all of that mainstream. So firstly, I know that you were I think you were at Art Basel, weren't you?
I was in Art Basel, Miami, which was my first time. I never was into the art scene or the art community. And when we think about NFTs, a lot of people were like, it's like digital art. Well, I can just download or screenshot that JPEG. Like, why would I do that? So just to put into reference, because I think it's really fun to just think about it differently. So when the internet came out, everybody thought the internet equals search engines. That internet equals search engines. That's like Web 1.0. Then Web 2.0 came out with like social media, apps, e-commerce. And we're like, oh, the internet's not just search engines. It's everything. So when NFTs started, everyone became aware of them through digital art. A big aha moment was when Beeple's thing sold for like 69 million at Christie's, and like, oh, that's just digital art that you can just download or screenshot. People think NFTs equals digital art. What they're going to discover, like the kind of the tip of the iceberg with the internet and search engines, is it's a lot more than that. It's really the blockchain technology. It's really helping people understand how to authenticate and track the ownership of an asset that we will now live in digital assets. So like you said, in gaming, that was the origin. Like when you would see like a skin in a game, that was a digital asset. When you're in Roblox and you want to put on a Gucci something or whatever the other brands there that came in to do digital assets, it's the same concept. And so what would love people to understand more about NFTs, they may think it's digital art, which it 100% is, but it's also going to be everything that we touch. Just like you wouldn't have a company that doesn't have a website, you won't have a company or a person or an IP or an artist that doesn't have an NFT.
And actually, I love that because I think people sort of just go, do I even need to be in NFTs? Like I've got social media, I'm doing, things on Instagram or on TikTok. And I almost feel like the NFTs are like that next evolution. So it's like social, that's just a necessary evil these days. You just need to have, a presence on there. You need to be doing something. But I fully believe what you're saying. It's like NFTs is going to be that next kind of frontier of, building community, digital marketing. And I feel like people have this perception, like you said, that it is really just like a pixel art, and it's evolving at such a rapid rate. And I know that at Art Basel, I've been speaking to people who've gone and they're like, I'm still trying to recover, and it's been like a week. Did you see a lot of, like, was there a lot of activations around NFTs, and are you seeing?
Yeah, so Miami has a vibrant art scene. So they had something called Miami Art Week, which was happening on top of Art Basel. And at the same time, they have places like Wynwood Walls, which is basically a park that has just street art. So Miami's full of unbelievable, from Art Deco to like the architecture to the, like Miami has a vibrant scene already. And then Art Basel was just that on steroids. So like there was a bunch of NFT projects. There was a lot of NFT companies, a lot of digital artists, a lot of people launching their NFTs during Art Basel. It became culture, art, NFTs, crypto, a lot of different panels and side events, just bringing the conversation forward and normalizing with a lot of people that hadn't been a part of that conversation before.
So I know that it's obviously it's becoming a lot more mainstream. So I look at brands like, The Matrix, even McDonald's, things like that are really, once big brands jump on board, I then feel like it pulls on like the mass consumer. So what do you think is going to be happening in the space, in the NFT space in 2022?
Well, I think we're already seeing it. We're already seeing like Visa came out, bought a CryptoPunk, now is accepting cryptocurrency, PayPal, Venmo, like, apps that we use, Zelle, I don't know what they use in Australia, but like any of the apps that we use for financial payments are starting to accept crypto. Amazon, eBay is going to start to accept crypto. I think it's going to be normalized. I think it's just a matter of time. They're going to be adopting all these different ways of using decentralized currencies, decentralized assets in the marketplace. So you're starting to see a lot of celebrities come in, like Reese Witherspoon. Look at her tweet that she put out yesterday saying, blockchain technology is here to stay. We want to empower more women who are coming into the space. So you're going to see a lot of artists, celebrity, mainstream Hollywood companies, McDonald's, the Visas, the Budweisers, the Pepsis, there's Bojangles, which is like a chicken sandwich chain, a fast food chain, or a chain in the US. They launched a local community artist NFTs. You're going to see mainstream adoption across Tiffany, Cartier, Gucci, Nike is doing a ton. So I think it's just a matter of time. Every company, every brand, every IP holder has their own strategy of how they're going to use it. One of the things that Gary did, which launched, which was like the first ever, is an NFT restaurant. They announced it. We announced it, a couple months ago. But basically, it'll be an NFT that you get that gets you access into specific restaurants, and you get perks. So it's almost like a club. And so I think you're going to see more adoption. Today, I posted something on my Instagram about you're going to NFT your car. So you're going to know who owned it, when did it get purchased, if it's been an accident, same for like a home. It's going to be that ledger, that public digital ledger that we all think about.
And look, I actually feel that we've barely scratched the surface when we look at the application.
We're just in early days. Early days. Like, remember, like when our parents was like, oh, when we got the land back in the day, or when we were like, you know, the early days of the internet, like, oh man, remember those guys, they were sitting in their garage working? That's right now for NFTs, you know, applications, apps, how we're going to be using it, how we're going to be using blockchain technology, what it's capable, how the wallets will speak to each other. It's just, it's a lot.
It's actually mind blowing, but exciting, because I feel that the NFT community globally, like there's not that many people in it yet, but the people who are in it are so passionate and so energetic. So I feel that, you know, they're going to be really, like, people like yourself are going to be really propelling NFTs and crypto and blockchain forward on a global scale. So you mentioned a couple of brands like Visa, Budweiser, you know, McDonald's, who have, you know, jumped onto NFTs already, and they're kind of already, you know, dipping their toe into the metaverse, so to speak. What are some of the big mistakes that you see, you know, when people are trying to get into the metaverse or get into NFTs? Because I feel like people just,
that's such a good question.
It's still so new.
So one is people expect to come into NFTs to make quick bucks. Like, we want to just put something out there and make a lot of money because we heard there's a cash grab. So that's the first mistake. So it's very short-term thinking. It's not going to be sustainable. Second thing is, and this is one of the reasons Gary's project is one of the top 5 blue chip projects in the world right now, is because you building it on a community. So if you are going to launch an NFT project, but you're not launching a Discord, you're not doing the whole equation. It's like saying you have a website, but no content on your page, right? You need to build that community. You have to lean on your community. And then once you have that community and you do communicate with them on Discord, and you do have, you know, it's like customer service. You need to make sure you cater to them, you answer their questions. You have to have a plan to talk to them and to support them and to serve them. And I was explaining it to one of my friends the other day. I'm like, it's like having shareholders. If they make an investment in your NFT project, what are you doing to keep shareholder value? What are you doing to communicate with them your roadmap? What are you doing to increase that value? What are you doing to communicate to them? Just like investor relations, like giving them updates on their investment. Where is it going? How is it going to increase? When would be a good time for them to sell, or what might be happening where they can buy more? It's the same concept. And I think first one is the cash grab. Second one has to do with community and like things like Discord. And then third is value. So a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to launch an NFT project. Well, what's the value you're bringing? Is it your celebrity? Is it your name? Are you giving them access? Are you giving them utility? Is there some benefit? Like, if I'm Tiffany, am I going to give them access to the, you know, collections before anybody else sees them? Are they get front seated at a trunk show? Are they going to get to purchase something that nobody else gets because they own the NFT? Are we going to drop them a specific thing? So what's the value that you're going to create for them, and how are you going to sustain it in the long term?
Oh my God, there's just so much to unpack there. It's like, I don't even know where to start. So I look, in terms of community, I think a lot of people forget about that. And like you mentioned, they go in for the cash grab. They're like, I'm just going to release 10,000 images of, you know, a dog that is in different outfits, and then they might just completely disappear off the face of the earth after that. So I think what you were saying around community and having a clear roadmap to continuously add value is really, really, is so important.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that a lot of people are like, what's the difference between a successful project and a non-successful project? It's just like thinking of the same mentality of a startup. People invest in the founders. What is the founder's story? Like, if I'm going to take a startup and invest in that company, I want to know, who are the founders of the company? What are they passionate about? How did they get here? What are the things that they're going to be delivering? How are they going to scale it? Like, those are the same questions you ask in an NFT project. You invest in the founder. You invest, like, you may, you know, art is subjective. Like, do you think that's pretty or not? Do you like that or not? Like, there's just some really ugly things on the market, and those are the most successful, but like, that's subjective. Like, well, if you think it's ugly, but someone else thinks it's awesome, It's art.
Yeah.
So look at the founder story. Look at like how did they create it? Like there's like a 12-year-old or a 10-year-old kid in the UK that launched a project, but his story was unbelievable. And I was like, you just wanted to invest in his NFT project because you just believed in him and like his energy and passion for it. And so you really had to look at the founder story.
And actually that concept of authenticity and being genuine is really crucial. And I was actually listening, I think, to Gary talk on a podcast the other day about his project specifically. And he was saying he could have collaborated with an artist to make his NFTs look amazing. But really, they're not going to be that authentic if it's not him actually putting pen to paper, drawing his animals. He's just so
I mean, a lot
funny.
of people are like, oh, Gary, you're not an artist. Well, he's not a professional artist, but doodles are art.
Exactly.
And the concept behind VeeFriends is the characters and the traits of the characters. So the message is accountable ant, empathy elephant, kind kudo, be the bigger person. Like those are concepts that he believes are important in business. And he believes that business should be friendly, which is why he called them VeeFriends, because a lot of people think business is cutthroat and bad and not hustle and all. And Gary's like the opposite of that. Like he wants people to understand these are traits that are important, like tenacious tiger and patient panda. Like, anyways, this is going to be his Disney. So he wants people to like put these characters on a pedestal because those are the characters in life that matter.
And I actually really like that. It's almost like he's bringing to life these traits that are often forgotten in business. And I think that that's a beautiful vision to have it. And I think the project is incredible. Interestingly, I remember when I met Gary in Melbourne, I was saying to him, when I first started seeing his content, like he's a very, loud, like he swears, he's like very, he's obviously very passionate, but I remember going, oh my God, like who is this person? Like what are they saying? And I almost I was like almost kind of blown away at first. And then I saw his content online and then the message really resonated with me. And I know that you obviously do a lot of work with people like him and, incredible thought leaders around the world. And I guess crafting that personal brand is something that a lot of people find quite challenging. So what are some of the tips that you have if you're looking to sort of build thought leadership or establish your own brand? How can you, I guess what tips could you share to help people?
Yeah, so I'm so glad you asked this question because a lot of people, hopefully some of the people that are listening, they're like, what's a personal brand? And, personal branding, I talk about this a lot on my page, it's not about self-promotion, it's about leadership. So if you have a social media account, you're a personal brand. But what you do with it is up to you. So are you passionate about yoga, photography, cooking, any kind of sport? Like, what is it that you really love to do when you're not working? That's kind of the thing that you're passionate about. That's usually what a lot of people pick to be about their personal brand. So I am passionate about communications. Obviously, I spend a lot of time on my page talking about my dogs and my family and my work life and my clients. But I think one of the best ways to think about how you should approach your personal brand is find something you can do through your social media channels. Doesn't need to be all of them. It could be one of them that you are passionate about that you can do consistently. So, for example, I love podcasting. I don't like doing YouTube videos and worrying about my hair and if I look too fat and what am I wearing and does my makeup or my hair. I hate having to overthink that part, but I love audio. I love to consume podcasts. I love the audio format. It's seamless. I can listen to it in the car, in the gym, at the airport, so I really love to do voice. Somebody might be passionate about writing, so they want to write a blog. Some people might be passionate about filming and film TikToks or film reels or film YouTube shows. And some people might be passionate about, giving speeches. So they want to book themselves to speak on events. And that's their personal brand, is saying their message through face one-to-many instead of one-to-one. Like there's different ways for people to think about building their personal brands, but they really should spend time thinking about it because employers will Google it. Somebody that you're trying to attract in terms of a client or a business, customer acquisition will look at your pages. A lot of people used to, back in the day, Google somebody. I think now a lot of times people check out their Instagram page. And soon people are going to go look at your digital wallet and see what kind of NFTs do you have. And that's the name of the game in terms of social currency. People like to see, oh, who does Maha know? Or what kind of stuff is she up to? Or what does she have on her page? And so I think that's really important that people think about their personal brand and how they want to be perceived. The biggest challenge I think a lot of people have with building their personal brand is they're like, I need a team. I'm not Gary Vee. I don't have 35 people. I don't have content editors and copywriters and media buyers and photo editor. Like, you don't have to make it that complicated. I said, what if you just took a piece of paper and hand wrote a note and took a picture of that and uploaded it on your page? What if you decided to just use some of the apps like Canva from Australia and like develop something that's super easy using the templates that already exist? Don't overthink it in terms of like how you should do it. Gary talks about this a lot. Like he's like, just start and don't worry about every single post being perfect. I actually struggle with a lot of the stuff that, I put content on. I'm like, oh, I don't like how that looks, or I don't like, and then I finally just give in. I'm like, fine, just post it. Like, it's not going to be, it's just one post. Like, it's not the end of the world if you put something out there that you're not excited about, but try new things, practice new things, try different formats and see what makes you comfortable.
Yeah, I think a lot of people focus too much on making sure or wanting to get to some level of perfection before they push content out. And then what happens is they never push anything out because nothing's ever perfect. So it's almost like it stops them from getting out there and getting opportunities because they're too worried that people might go, oh, there was a spelling mistake there, or that photo was a little bit blurry, or the video didn't look as crisp. So look, I completely agree with you, and I'm very active on social. And a lot of the times, some of my content that I post that I think is going to do terribly does the best. And I think maybe sometimes that level of authenticity is what people really end up connecting with. And you're so right about saying that it doesn't need to be hard. You don't need a team. You literally have a phone that's probably attached to your hand 24/7 every minute.
The other key thing, and I do a lot of workshops on this, is consistency, right? So I met a guy in Egypt in like 2 weeks ago who said, Maha, I've been posting every day for 2 years. No, he's like, I've been posting content for the last 2 years. And in the last month or 5 weeks, he said he's been posting every day because Gary's like, post every day. He got 30,000 followers.
What?
It works. Well, he just did more content, like that consistency of posting. And he's like, it just all of a sudden, I've been doing it for 2 years and I switched up the cadence and how often I'm posting and just doing more. And he's like, I got 30,000 followers in the last month. No ads, organic reach. Everybody starts out with 0 followers.
Yeah, exactly. Look, I think that's a really good message as well, because people sometimes go, am I just talking to no one when they first start out? And I remember when I
have a friend, she's like, I have 400 followers. I'm like, not talking, like, keep going, keep posting, use hashtags, people use discovery, make sure you're using all the features. Like if you're in Instagram, make sure you're doing stories, you're doing lives, you're doing reels, like use all the tools. I mean, the algorithm, no one can keep track of how they do it or when they do it or how often they change it, but just if you're active on the platform, you will be rewarded.
I agree. And I think as well, it's like you're saying, it's like you cannot keep up with what's going on social. So the best thing is just get some content out there and then you can keep track of it with stats. So I think that's the best thing about digital. Have a look at what the data is telling you and then just keep evolving from that. So, okay, those are some fantastic tips. I need to get my posting game to every day after that.
Yeah, once a day. Someone's like, I'm going to do 3 times a week. I'm like, what's the point of 3 times a week?
Oh, yeah.
Every day. Just give something. Like, even if you just like, you're at a coffee shop, take a picture and write a, like, just post something, just to get yourself out of that overthinking mode.
And actually, that's a very good point, because you talk about being in a coffee shop and just snapping a photo, maybe thinking of something that's inspired you for the day. I always talk about, when it comes to content creation, focus more on documenting, because you're doing amazing things. You're talking to amazing people. You're learning things every day. So just kind of document that. And I think that kind of almost makes it not seem so overwhelming. Like, you don't necessarily think so much about content creation and it having to be a big thing. So, okay, fantastic tips. Love that.
It's so funny. when I'm on vacation with my family and we're like, I'm always like filming and they're so annoyed. They're just like, just put your phone down. But then at the end, I always put together like a fun reel or I've documented our entire trip. And then they're so happy. They're like, oh my God, you got that? That's so cool. Like, I always just trying to film, like, sometimes it's awkward, like depending on where you are. But, for me, it's also, I could look back and say, well, what did I do in January of 2021? Like now I know I have it documented. I have a whole story. I'm like, this is where I was. This is what I was doing. It's fun to look back, I think.
Look, I agree. And, I'm probably going to show my age here, but I was around when, we'd had old school film cameras and like, you've got that, you've got your snaps and you'd get them developed and that was really fun, but you're not taking the sheer number of volume like you're not capturing like, so many moments like that we do with our phones now because it makes it really easy. And you're so right. Like even during the pandemic, we were in lockdown here and I'm like, I could look back at photos of when we could travel and, look back at memories. And I just think I'm really glad that, this technology has allowed us to really document, our life and remember those or almost like keep those moments, for the rest of the time or as long as you've got your phone for. So yeah, I think it's a really nice, I personally love it. Not everyone wants to be connected all the time and capturing content all the time, but
yeah, it gets a little like sometimes I enjoy like taking a break from it, but everything has its time and season. So wait, I have to ask you a question, Lisa. Do you have an NFT?
I do.
You
Yeah.
do? Do you so you have a crypto wallet and you've like you've dabbled a little bit into like NFTs?
Yeah, so I not only have some NFTs, I am an NFT. So I sold myself.
What?
I sold myself, and it sounds really bad. I sold myself with 1 hour of time with me, and let me tell you, Maha, I wrote the T's and C's to be very strict. I was like, it's 1 hour of time, and it's to do with business. It's going to be a virtual 1 hour.
Did you do it? You already launched it?
I have, yeah, and I haven't actually done the 1 hour yet, but I was saying if at any time I feel uncomfortable, that 1 hour can end because there's some weird people out there. But I actually don't think you can really learn about something unless you get your hands dirty.
Right,
So for
yeah.
me, it's like you need to get in there. You need to be buying NFTs. You need to be selling NFTs. You make mistakes. God knows I've made so many mistakes, but you learn so much. And I got up actually last week. I'm still paying for it today because I'm old. I got up at 4:30 to buy the Matrix NFTs. I don't know if you saw the rollout of that. It was
I didn't buy one.
It was a bit messy. So
I didn't have any
got up.
ETH. There are some projects that come by and I'm like, there's like a 5 or 6 day waiting period from when you buy ETH to when it hits your account.
Oh.
So I sometimes I was like, thank God I don't have any because then I'll be like spending it all.
Spending it all the time.
So funny how like now I'm like I would like think twice about spending like X on like an expensive dinner, but then like an NFT for like $2,000, no problem. Like it's kind of funny how your reference of what's expensive, you're like, that's for $2,000. That's nothing. It's like half a ETH. That's such a bargain.
It's actually so true.
You just click a button and buy an NFT for half a ETH. It's like a lot of money.
But the thing is though, it's funny though because you're not seeing that money. It's almost like it's plain money because you don't physically hold $2,000 in your hand. Like if you were to hand that over, like it does seem like a lot, but when it doesn't exist and it's just in a meta wallet somewhere, you just go, oh well, that's just like Monopoly money. It's fine. Interestingly though, so I bought it on the Nifty platform. You could use Stripe. So you could actually use credit card, which I thought was really interesting.
So amazing.
Yeah. So I think it's probably almost like now, because I think that's the challenge with NFTs. Crypto is a little bit of a barrier because that put me off for a while because I'm like, I don't want to look at a MetaMask. I don't want to, what's crypto? It's too hard. And so I didn't get in for a long time. Then I'm like, you need to just suck it up and just bloody get in there. So then I did. But I feel that NFTs have definitely made crypto more mainstream, but it'll be interesting now if more and more brands just integrate credit card because then I don't know how that's all going to work. But anyway, that's a whole other topic for another day. I want to talk to you about gaming because
great.
I'm like old school gaming. I'm like Mario Kart, like, that really, really old school gaming. But gaming has evolved so much. And I know that you're
fastest growing sport, esports, fastest growing sport in the world.
It's crazy. So tell me a little bit about what's happening in the gaming scene and what you're thinking is going to happen in 2022.
I think brands and businesses and even professional traditional sports are seeing what esports and gaming are doing to the industry. It's just what Gen Z loves to do. There's a lot of innovation. Even for companies that are recruiting, gamers are analytical, they're strategic, they're very good at math. Like, so a lot of like recruiting of companies and universities are recruiting gamers and thinking about like, these are the types of individuals we want to hire because they have all those amazing skills. I think that for brands that are adopting or they're endemic to the industry, the ones that are really understanding are coming in authentically. So you're not, there's different ways for companies, obviously, to engage in the industry. They can sponsor a league, like a Call of Duty league, a Rocket League, a Valorant league. They can sponsor a team. They can sponsor a streamer, which is a person who plays and plays online. They can sponsor a tournament. There's different ways for them to engage. But what we're really seeing is a massive explosive growth in esports and gaming arenas. So back in the day, remember we used to have like internet cafes and then there were like gaming lounges. Well, now there's like a huge push for physical destinations globally and in the US, especially globally, for esports arenas. I think you're going to see a huge uptake in that in 2022 and 2023. And it's going to be highly competitive.
Isn't that so interesting that, because I think of gaming as being something that's in the virtual world, but now it's like that collision of the virtual and physical world, because you're now doing these esport tournaments physically in arenas. Like it's like almost like.
Have you been? I went to the Call of Duty launch in January of 2020, and it's just like it's a sports event. Like there's, concession stands, there's fans screaming, there's a huge screen, the players are on the stage. It's wild.
It's actually just crazy. It's like a whole nother world in itself.
It's so fun to watch. It's like UFC. It's like people love to like watch those matches or those fights. It's the same thing.
Have you seen any brands do, work with the gaming world really well? Because I mean, I saw the Fortnite Balenciaga collaboration, which I freaking loved. And to be honest with you, I'm not into the gaming world, so it actually got me interested into looking in Fortnite, because I'm interested in fashion. So I'm like, Balenciaga doing what with who? What's Fortnite?
All the fashion brands came in. Gucci came in, Louis Vuitton came in, Balenciaga came in. All the big like fashion houses came in behind it. I think because they understand the thing about gaming and NFTs. It's where culture happens. And so brands that want to find relevance want to be a part of culture. And gaming is part of culture. NFTs are part of culture. Art is part of culture. That is the reason why you're seeing all these companies look towards Gen Z, look towards how they become relevant. And how do you become relevant? You're on TikTok. How do you become relevant? You're on gaming. How do you become relevant? You adopt NFTs. So I think they're really trying to find relevance. And I think with so much happening in 24-hour news cycles, social media, all these platforms, now more than ever, relevance is going to be the name of the game.
Why do you think Gen Z are so powerful? I feel like they've become such an important market for marketers to really target. Like I look at TikTok, like they pretty much drove TikTok in some ways.
Yeah, and they're influencers, not just amongst their friends and with brands. They're the influencers of their families. They're the ones talking to their moms and dads about what to buy and what to wear and what products to have in the house. And, that's why you saw so many families doing TikTok during COVID.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the kids were getting the parents to do it, So I think they're influencers of their segment, they're influencers of culture, they're influencers of their families, and they're influencers of how consumer behavior, like what they will and won't accept. Like you even saw with the, great resignation that happened in the US, a lot of people were quitting their jobs and they don't want to work anymore. It's not because they don't want to work. It's because they know they have choice and they want to make those choices. And so Gen Z is very well educated. They're very well educated on the environment. They're conscious consumers about the brands that they purchase. They don't support brands that don't support LGBTQ. They don't support brands that aren't good to the environment. They don't support brands that aren't good corporate citizens. Like they're not good to their employees. They're not good to business. The CEO might be corrupt. So like they're really educated and they're digitally savvy.
Yeah.
So they have the weapons to push or take down a business or a brand by talking direct. They have a mouthpiece to talk directly to everybody on Discord or on Twitch or on Twitter.
Yeah, it's those are actually fantastic points. I know they sort of call it pester power with Gen Z in the home. Like they can really influence their parents because they can harass and annoy them. But the sheer amount of information that they have at their fingertips. Like I was talking to my friend Dave yesterday, and we were reflecting on how we used to have to look at encyclopedias for information, whereas this time they can literally have the world at their fingertips and just find answers in, with the click of a button. So, Gen Z, I definitely feel like are going to change the world. And even like what you're talking about, how their values are so important to them. And I think a lot of brands don't stand for anything, and that's not going to fly with Gen Z. Like they want you to stand for something, and that thing has to be good. And so I really, respect Gen Z as a whole, demographic. I'm a millennial, so I feel like I can say this. I sort of feel like the millennial culture was like a little bit superficial. Like we were like, we created selfies for God's sake. Like I don't really know what we were doing in that space. It's not good. I feel like I could talk to you all day, but I know you have a million things to do. So is there anything that you would love to leave our audience with? Like, is there anything that you wish you discussed or wanted to discuss today? Is there any advice that you want to leave them with?
No, I just think as we are going into 2022, I think just a final word about just spend some time reflecting about this year and being grateful for the fact that we're here, we're alive, we're healthy, we're safe, we have options. We live in one of the best times ever to learn about each other and about culture and about internet and about all the things that can really help us. Like there's so many massive opportunities out there. Don't sit around and be a witness in 2022. Try to engage. And if that means learning a new skill, learning about NFTs, spending some time sitting in on some Twitter spaces to understand what the heck are all these NFTs about, maybe joining a Discord, getting on Twitch, like try to learn something. You may not like it, but at least like you can at least tap in and lean in to say, okay, I at least spend some time looking at it to understand a little bit more. And I'm sure you're going to walk away with some opinions and ideas, but at least give yourself a chance to take advantage of all the exciting things that are happening in the market today. And if anyone needs anything or wants to talk about anything related to gaming or NFTs or communications or personal brand, hit me up at Maha Abouelenein, and I'll be happy to talk to you guys.
Fantastic. And I'll put all of your socials in the show notes, but I can definitely say your content is amazing. I love following it. I get so much value from it. So thank you so much for today. I loved it. I love seeing you again, hopefully.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Australia. I'm looking forward to coming back very soon.
Yes, definitely. Fingers crossed. Otherwise, Maha, I'm going to come and see you.
Come see me. I would love that, Lisa. I would love that so much. Anytime.
Okay, looking forward to it. Thanks, Maha.
Thank you.